So there are two main classes in the plugin responsible for managing the setup for the game, including the movement speed, player lives, scoring rules, and more. The first class, which you'll find in any level, and that is going to be in the editor before you even press play, is the level manager. This is responsible for exposing many of the important game variables to the editor. However, it doesn't manage anything during runtime. It provides all of the exposed variables to the game mode class. So that is the second type of kind of management class we'll be looking at in this video. So if we start with the level manager, I've chosen to go into the Lizard Runner 3D. We can see a bunch of information here, and behind the scenes in the class itself, this is controlling things like the spawner class management. So when the game first runs, the level manager is going to search for any classes of the type spawner, and that will be for things like level, obstacles, scenery. All of those classes will be found, put into an array, and it's going to control when they should start spawning, when they should be recycling and using things like that. We then have all of the bounds information, so this has been exposed for easy use in the editor, so you can set the out of bounds location, where you want the pulled objects to reside, so that you don't see them pop in and out of game, and things like that. Then we have the game type settings, which is going to be really important. This allows you to very quickly make changes using things like enums and structs to automate the process of deciding or finding out which platform you're playing on, and then providing hints based on that platform. Some game types allow for things like the color scheme to be changed, as we can see here, which is an example from the vertical runner. And you can also choose different HUD and widgets, the start text that you want to display, and the number of lives that you have in that game. And if you wanted it to not be a life-based game, then you can just set that to be 0. We can also update all of the editor visuals in levels, so we can randomize this before we press play to get an idea of how the level is going to look, and some updates that we might want to make based on the randomization logic. We then have in the level manager the floats and level speed. So this is just controlling things like the countdown delay before the game starts. Again, you can set that to 0 if you want the game to start immediately. Otherwise, this will provide a visual countdown timer. And then you've got things like the level speed controls. So the initial speed it should start playing, the maximum speed it can get to, and the acceleration. All of that's been covered in the how to set up a game tutorial in this playlist as well, if you wanted more information on those variables. Then the second management classes are going to be the blueprints. The game mode BP_game mode base is the parent game mode for both the game mode game and the game mode menu. But these classes are then controlling things like the save data. So this will be checked between levels so that we can keep track of the scores, the coins, and anything else you wanted to add to the system, as well as the types of players that you will be spawning for your certain games. Again, this has been covered in the setting up a game tutorial, but we do have a custom spawning system, so do check that video out to see how to select the type of pawn that you want the player to control. This is also the class which, if we take a look at the game version of the game mode, this is also the class where a lot of the respawning is going to be handled at the game start, the game over, tracking the score, adding and taking away lives. So this is a very important class to get used to, because this is where pretty much all of the updates in-game are happening. A few bits of information will be passed from the level manager, but generally as soon as you start pressing play, it's the game mode which is going to keep track of everything that's happening and completing that kind of game loop setup. So you want to check here for things like the initialization of the score, the saving, loading, and some of the game variables. Also have a look here if you wanted to look into spawning and respawning. So this is where things like the invincibility times are handled as well. And this is also where things like the initialization of the widgets will be handled. So once we've decided the type of HUD to use, it's going to create the level HUD ref, add that to screen, and again we'll be passing the information from here to show the score and coins and things like that you're picking up as you go through the game.